So, board members, do you feel ready to do a little go around and have each person say where they're at with this budget as proposed? And really what we want to know, is this a budget that we want to bring to a public forum next week? And Dave Ricker, I'll let you call on people in the room.
I'm gonna start with Sarah.
Well, I feel, I guess, better that we have something that might be more acceptable to the general public. But I still think, and I'm not taking my personal feelings into account here, that there probably will be people that will want to see more cuts. But you guys have a lot of work and trying to find the balance between the goals of the school district, the positive aspects, and then trying to appease the other concerns. A lot of them good, and we should be grateful for the efforts. And that's all I'm gonna say right now.
Rebecca.
Yeah, I feel the same as she does, that I recognize a lot of work has been done to bring this into closer to reality for many people's budgets, home budgets. I'm still, and I know you're meeting on Friday, I'm still concerned that I'm not, this is not opposed, and nothing against special ed, but I still have questions about why their budget increased by 550,000. And I looked at last year their budget had increased by 638,000. And so this is like 2 years in a row where one line item is seen over $1 million plus increase, and
There are significant increases in services that were required to be provided and in the cost of those services. So both the requirements of IEPs increased and the cost of those requirements increased. Plus, there's a couple of students that are not currently placed out of district that are likely to be placed out of district, possibly this year.
increase it even more.
No, they're included in this year. They're going to mean that we are going to have to tighten our belts this year to not exceed our budget, to not exceed our overall budget. Because these placements, we had a couple of unexpected placements already this year. And there's the possibility of others. And so we projected what we hoped we knew for next year. And that's what's in that number, is those increases.
They're anticipated costs.
Yes. And these are not people that
can be served through our expedition program.
No, they're not.
I feel better about this budget. It's a little bit lower, but I also like that even though we've cut things from the budget, I like the value added pieces that have been implemented. And like Sarah said, I am sure that there will be people that want to see it a lot lower and cut other things. But I think this feels like it's cut a minimal amount, but added things back in, so it doesn't feel so harsh to me.
I would say I support this budget. We've added value to a budget while still cutting some costs. Tremendous work that's gone into that. I would say that barring things like inflation and housing going up so much and things that are totally out of whack with our ability, 6% is pretty good budget comparatively, probably when you look around the Upper Valley in both states. So kudos to the team.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I appreciate the creativity, the privatization thing, something I hadn't thought of. I knew the districts did that, but that's a big line right there. I feel like it's in the zone, and I'm willing to let it go to the next step and let the people weigh
we are, and, I also think that this is a budget that's going to be scrutinized by the public pretty much so superficially and not to the depth and the appreciation that we have for the kinds of things that you're adding and or subtracting in here. And Warford's taking a big chunk of this, and I gotta say, from what I'm hearing from the people that have talked to me about this budget, it is going to go down kind of hard on that side, on this side of the river. You know, I applaud the fact you've gotten it back to 6.3%. That's an improvement, but I still think that we could have done better. This is a big number. And I think the other damning thing is that our overall cost per student is just out of hand. I don't understand why we are so far out, and whether it's, you know, spending nearly $4 million on special ed, which is, you know, I have 380 here. I think it's 4.1 if you have administration and so forth. Whether that's solely what's driving it, but I also think that, maybe this isn't the time to say it, but boy, we need to change our voting system on this budget. And as much as I like the Australian ballot, and I know that, you know, you want to advise that down because of cost. Changing this to a Saturday afternoon wouldn't cost us anything. And I don't want to say Freudian here. If we want to pass this budget, we need to have more people involved in the voting process.
Nate?
I'm ready to bring this budget to the voters. I think the 6.3%, given the inflationary demands of the last year, is a pretty good result. And I think it is both impressive and really depressing that you managed to pull out a budget that before CLA would have reduced taxes in all the Vermont towns, right? That wouldn't have been a great result. And because of the wild way that the state assesses property values, we're actually, you know, going to see increases in some Vermont towns. And so it makes no sense, but I understand the part of the equation that you had control over, you controlled to the point where there wouldn't have been, you know, tax reductions in Vermont towns. So I appreciate that. It's all you can do, I think. And we should all march on the State House together.
All right, Jason?
Yeah, I support where we are. Being so late down the list here, I kind of echo what most of you are saying there. I think the budget where we're ending up, bear in mind it's our uncontrolled costs that are driving this and where we are. I think the administration has done a great job. Thank you. And I echo what Sarah said about ensuring there's some value added to it. Yes, we really do need to have an outside audit of our special ed costs. And I'm calling from home, but this call is clearly being tracked by people in the basketball gym who are very questioning what this is going to do to the community by not having sports in the sports fields. But that's coming from the basketball gym right now. But no, thank you all for what you've done.
Vanessa?
Yep, I'm sorry I don't have my camera on, and I was going to jump out and jump back in, but I was afraid I was going to miss Nancy's explanation, and I couldn't miss a word of it to be able to somehow follow along. So anyway, that's why I don't have my camera on. I can't get it on. I am a supporter of this budget, very impressed with the add-on and takeaway to get it down to 6.3. I do believe strongly that we must have some part of this meeting where Kathy, and sorry Kathy, but you're so outstanding at it, get up there and give a full lesson on what's happened and why it is that we have arrived at where we have. Because I do believe that with that and your ability to teach these communities, why we're at 6.3, I think this can pass. And I wasn't sure about that last meeting, but I feel that now. On top of that, I just want to say everybody who has offered their comments thus far, for the most part, I agree with all of that. And I just want to say to Terry that my people need to talk to your people because I'm hearing something very different. Thanks.
All right, Kathy, last but not least.
All right, well, thank you so much for everyone working through this like this. And as I say, this has been a long process, and I would echo what all of you have said, really. I agree with all of it. And I would say, not only do I feel do I really like seeing the value added, I feel it's a forward-looking budget because I feel like for the first time, we're really like looking realistically at attrition and saying, okay, if there are some positions that we just haven't been able to fill, maybe those are the ones to say that we should cut. And then if we have said that we are wanting to move towards multi-age classrooms in our elementary schools by the end of 2 years from now, it makes a lot of sense to be moving forward with that through attrition, and rather than trying to do it all at once and having to lay off teachers that we would hate to lay off. So, and I think it's a moving in the right direction. In my dream world, I would still like to see something specifically devoted to communication and to grant writing. I would say those are sort of like the two hopes that I have out there. And I do wonder if there's sort of any possibility with someone who's working, maybe if we are limiting our staffing in an elementary school space, maybe there's someone who would like to work part-time doing those things. And then my other thing that I'm really intrigued with, and I'm willing to sort of do some phone calls about this, is I'm just so distressed by how much transportation costs us and how poorly it meets our needs. And I'm wondering about privatization of that. And I did find out that Burlington contracts with their local public bus service to provide busing, not just for their high school kids, but for elementary school kids. They do neighborhood runs. And so I wonder about Tri-Valley Transit. So I'm going to reach out to them and see what their thoughts are, and see if I can go anywhere. So, all right, folks. Does anyone remember what we said we were going to aim for a public forum for next week? For what day? I know that we thought
Next
Tuesday, and then we said no because that's the New Hampshire primary.
The 24th at 5:30.
The 24th at 5:30. And then I would say let's really make sure that we have a way to do that well in a hybrid fashion, so that we really have a chance for people who are in the room to ask questions and also people who are online to ask questions. And maybe we can alternate between those. And meanwhile, if folks who have sat through this and you have questions and suggestions for us and how to present, and questions that we can answer preemptively, please do send them to budgetquestions@rivendell.org. All right. Do we have anything else? Monica, I see that your hand is still up. Do you have something specific that'd be helpful to share at this point?
I just wanted to agree with the board that I think moving forward, doing my job as taking on district clerk, that I feel that I can help propose this to the public without feeling like we're really throwing something out there that the public's going to disagree on, because we've added a lot more value to this budget. I do think that we have to kind of think over the next week and a half before our next meeting on how we're going to present it to the public so they understand it as well. Because there is a lot of information that was presented tonight that throwing out to people that never heard this might sound a little intimidating, even though the budget is less and at 6.3%, it still might seem like a fairly large amount of money that we're asking for to somebody that's never heard this before.
Great, thanks. Anything else from any board members? I see Dov's hand up.
Just a question on, are there gonna be warrants or capital improvements to facilities that won't be included in this budget that will be also voted
So
on?
that'll have to be something that we discuss as a board moving forward before we publish warrant articles. But I think the idea, and we talked about this, is that we would go to the communities and ask for them to support those with surplus funds, as opposed to having a warrant article that then adds to the, and changes the overall budget after the fact.
Right.
At the February meeting, I hope to have a representative from Plaza and Sanderson to present the audit.
Great.
Great.
And Mark Berger, I'd love for you to, not right now, but do some thinking between now and our February meeting about how it then looks if we vote to apply surplus money in a warrant article and how we would think about distributing that Vermont versus New Hampshire. Anyone else? All right. I think hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
All right. Seconded?